Atlanta had never stopped humming. Even in the quiet hours before sunrise, the city pulsed with the rhythm of hovering cars, neon reflections rippling off puddles, and the faint echo of gospel samples woven into digital beats. The air smelled faintly of ozone and roasted corn from the street vendors who never slept. Beneath the holographic skyline, Malik Johnson walked with his hands deep in the pockets of his oil-stained jacket, his mind turning faster than the turbines over his head. He was a maker, not the kind who built empires, but the kind who fixed what others forgot. His workshop, wedged between a retro barbershop and a food stall selling fried catfish over ion rice, was a patchwork of salvaged dreams. Old radios, broken alien comm devices, and half-disassembled drones filled the tables. Malik's hands were dark and calloused, his knuckles marked by years of coaxing life from dead circuits. "Man, you're still up?" came a voice from behind. It was Amara, his younger sister, her hair wrapped in a bright orange scarf, eyes warm but weary. She leaned against the doorway, watching him solder wires with focus, sharp as prayer. "Couldn't sleep," Malik murmured. "This old processor's talking back. She wants another chance." Amara smiled, shaking her head. "You and those machines. One day they'll start talking for real." He chuckled softly. "Long as they don't start preaching, we'll be fine." Atlanta had changed since the first contact 5 years ago. The aliens, the Zinnerans, had come not with conquest, but curiosity. They traded knowledge, energy systems, and materials beyond human comprehension. But their laws were clear. No human could tamper with alien tech without authorization. Malik knew that. Still, curiosity was its own kind of hunger. That morning, as he crossed under a bridge glowing with blue graffiti tags that shimmered like liquid code, something caught his eye. A faint flicker among the shadows. He crouched down, brushing aside dust and fallen leaves until he saw it. A small drone no bigger than a basketball, its shell cracked and humming weakly. It wasn't human-made. Its surface shimmered in patterns that shifted with his breathing, like it was alive. "Now what are you?" he whispered, gently lifting it. The drone emitted a faint chime, like a child's laughter trapped in a circuit. Malik carried it back to his workshop, setting it on his table with the care of someone placing a wounded bird to rest. The markings were strange, fluid, organic, and elegant. He traced them with his fingertip, feeling warmth pulse beneath the metal. He could tell it wasn't military grade. It felt innocent. He booted up his scanner, frowning as alien characters flooded the display. The translation module stuttered, struggling to identify the source. "Kids Play Unit," it finally printed, followed by a single corrupted line. "Belongs to the heirs of Queen Aelrin." He leaned back, blinking. "Royalty? Out here?" He exhaled slowly. "Great. I just found an alien princess's toy." For a moment, he considered calling it in to the tech authority, but his instincts pushed back. The drone wasn't dangerous. It was beautiful, crafted with the same care he felt when fixing an old guitar or a family heirloom. It deserved another chance. Malik sat for hours, soldering microfibers thinner than hair, adjusting the harmonic coils that let the drone hum. The city outside began to wake, the smell of spiced grits and hot oil seeping through the shutters, laughter from street vendors echoing through the morning haze. As the drone flickered to life, a faint light bloomed from its core. Malik smiled, sweat tracing down his temple. "There you go, little one." Back in the world again. He didn't know it yet, but that small act, a man repairing something broken because he could, would ripple across species and stars. Before we dive deeper into Malik's story, make sure you subscribe for more stories that celebrate human brilliance and resilience across the stars. Morning sunlight slipped through the cracked blinds of Malik's workshop, cutting narrow paths across tangled wires, brass fittings, and half-mended alien tech. The faint hum of a cooling fan blended with the distant thrum of air cars passing over Auburn Avenue. Malik rubbed his eyes, the smell of solder still clinging to his fingers. The drone he'd found the night before sat silent on his bench, its surface reflecting faint golden patterns, like breath caught in metal. He poured himself a cup of chicory coffee, bitter and strong, and stared at it. "You're not supposed to exist here," he murmured, "but neither am I some days." His laugh was quiet, more air than sound. His small workshop was a blend of legacy and rebellion. On one wall, framed portraits of his grandparents smiled, a reminder of a lineage of hands that fixed, mended, and built when no one else would. Next to them, holographic schematics hovered, layered with code he'd written himself, unauthorized and brilliant. Every surface told a story. A rusted wrench passed down from his father, a 3D printer salvaged from a defunct tech hub, an old record player spinning low jazz in the background. The door opened with a soft chime. Amara stepped in, holding a bag that smelled of warm biscuits and honey butter. "You didn't sleep again, did you?" she asked, setting the bag on the counter. "Not much." Malik stretched, wincing. "The drone kept whispering to me." She raised an eyebrow. "Whispering?" "Not literally," he said, grinning. "Its circuit patterns are like songs. Whoever designed this thought in rhythm." Amara shook her head, amused. "You always see soul in machines." He looked up from his bench. "And you see soul in people who've forgotten theirs. That's why you teach." Her smile softened. "And that's why you fix. But Malik, you gotta be careful. Those alien laws aren't forgiving. You start poking around too deep, somebody will notice." He waved her off. "I'm not stealing their tech. I'm just learning from it. Besides, you know the system. They make it impossible for folks like us to get certified. We build anyway." Amara sighed, her tone part pride, part worry. "You sound just like Daddy when he used to fix those old cars. Remember what he said? Even if the world won't sell you a new engine, you can still make one run." "Yeah," Malik said quietly, eyes back on the drone. He also said, "Don't let curiosity get you jailed." He pressed a small electrode into the drone's surface. A pulse of blue light rippled out, dancing over the metal. The markings rearranged themselves, revealing what looked like a pattern of small handprints. Malik frowned. "That's new. It's reacting to me." "Maybe it likes you," Amara teased. "Or maybe it remembers who hurt it." The words hung in the air. He wasn't sure why he'd said them, but the feeling was real. The machine radiated something like loneliness. Malik shook off the thought and reached for his diagnostic tablet. The system readout flashed red. Power cell empty. Material unknown. Replacement impossible. He leaned back, frustrated. Great. A miracle with no fuel. From the street outside came the sound of a street preacher's amplified voice, old-school fire wrapped in new tech. "We were made in the image of creation, not to worship machines, but to teach them the spirit of repair." The irony wasn't lost on Malik. He smiled faintly. Amara was watching him, her expression softening. "You ever think maybe fixing things is your way of praying?" He looked at her, then back at the drone. "If it is, I've been praying my whole life." The hum of the drone grew faintly stronger, a soft shimmer pulsing in response to his words. Malik froze. "Did you see that?" Amara nodded slowly, awe spreading across her face. "It's listening." He leaned closer, heartbeat quickening. "Then let's give it something worth hearing." The next morning came heavy with humidity, the kind that clung to the skin like a quiet warning. Malik stood over the drone, its faint glow now steady, almost breathing. His workshop buzzed with the energy of possibility and risk. Outside, the city's rhythm thumped through the thin walls, vendors calling, engines rumbling, music slipping through the cracks of old speakers. Atlanta was alive, stubbornly human, even as alien crafts glided like ghosts in the upper sky. He tapped a few keys on his terminal, trying to coax more data from the drone's core. The holographic interface flickered, scattering light across the cluttered room. Then, without warning, a soft trill escaped the drone, musical, like laughter made of glass. Malik froze, his fingers hovering in the air. "Okay," he whispered. "You've got jokes now." The drone trembled, projecting a burst of light. Tiny figures appeared above its shell, translucent and radiant, shaped like children. Their bodies shimmered in pastel hues, eyes wide and curious. Malik stumbled back, his breath catching in his throat. "Whoa, whoa," he muttered, blinking hard. "Am I still awake?" The projections tilted their heads in perfect unison, chirping in a melodic language he didn't understand. The sound carried a rhythm, almost like a playground chant. He leaned forward slowly, cautious but fascinated. "Hey there," he said softly. "Can you understand me?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, one of the holographic figures mimicked his movement, touching its chest. A distorted voice echoed through the room. "Human. Maker." Malik's eyes widened. His pulse hammered in his ears. "That's right, I fixed things. You broke this one, didn't you?" The children's images flickered. Another voice, higher and clearer, responded, "Play. Drone fall. Not broken now. You fix." Malik let out a shaky laugh. "Yeah, I guess I did." He didn't fully understand how the communication link was possible. The quantum relay inside the drone must have been reactivated when he repaired the harmonic core. But beyond the tech, what struck him was their tone. Gratitude. Real, unfiltered gratitude. One of the holograms pointed toward him, its voice overlapping with static. "Queen, say thank you," he frowned. "Queen? Your queen?" The figures nodded in near-perfect synchronization, their colors shifting to a soft violet hue. Queen love makers. Makers fix life. A chill ran through him. He remembered the corrupted message from before, heirs of Queen Ael-Rin. So these kids were her descendants. The thought sent a tremor through his chest. Outside, a gust of wind rattled the window panes. Malik glanced out. The morning haze had thickened, the skyline swimming in gold and grey. He turned back to the drone, still flickering. "You shouldn't be talking to me," he said quietly. "Your people have laws, and I—" He hesitated, then exhaled. "I just fix things, that's all." The smallest of the projections floated closer, its voice soft as wind chimes. "Fix heart. Fix song." Malik swallowed hard, emotion catching him off guard. The innocence in that tone pulled at something deep, the same part of him that had once fixed his father's broken radio just to hear old blues again. "I don't know about hearts," he said, smiling faintly, "but I can handle circuits." For a moment, the workshop filled with light. The children's holograms swirled in slow, graceful patterns, forming what looked like a dance. Then, just as suddenly, the glow dimmed. The images wavered, their voices fading into static. "Wait," Malik said quickly. "Don't go yet." But the connection broke. The drone went dark, leaving behind only the faint hum of its core. Malik stood there, chest tight, mind racing. He wasn't sure what he'd just witnessed, but he knew it wasn't just code. It felt alive. He turned toward the window, where sunlight spilled over the rooftops, and whispered to himself, "What did I just wake up?" He didn't yet realize that beyond the edge of Earth's atmosphere, someone had already noticed. By afternoon, the air outside thickened with summer heat, the kind that turned pavement into a slow burn. Malik wiped sweat from his brow as he locked the door of his workshop. The drone sat safely inside, tucked beneath a blanket of fabric, humming faintly like it dreamed. He tried to convince himself it was just another project, but the images of the alien children lingered in his mind, echoing with that strange melody that had somehow touched his chest more than logic could explain. He decided to grab a late lunch from Mr. Carter's food stall down the street. The old man greeted him with his usual smile, gold tooth glinting beneath the canopy lights. "Malik Johnson," he said, sliding a plate of catfish tacos across the counter. "You look like you've been up 2 nights and arguing with machines again." "Something like that," Malik said, managing a tired grin. "I might have fixed something I shouldn't have." Mr. Carter chuckled. "Story of every genius that ever came out of this neighborhood." He lowered his voice. "Just make sure you don't fix yourself into trouble." Malik nodded but didn't answer. His gaze drifted up. Above the skyline, a patrol drone glided silently, its red sensors blinking in slow rhythm. Since the alien treaties, the Interplanetary Liaison Office had tightened control. Every piece of alien tech was tagged, tracked, and restricted. Malik's stomach turned as he realized the drone he'd fixed had none of those marks. He finished his meal and hurried back to the workshop, only to find someone waiting by the door. The man was tall, skin the color of bronze polished by heat, suit pressed sharp as glass. He wore a badge that glowed faintly on his chest, Interplanetary Contact Authority. "Mr. Johnson," the man said. His voice was firm, not unkind but professional to the bone. "I'm Agent Ruiz. Mind if I come in?" Malik's throat tightened. "Depends on why you're here." Ruiz smiled thinly. "You already know why." Inside, the agent moved like someone who didn't need permission. His eyes swept across Malik's workspace, the piles of scrap, the photos, the hum of half-finished machines. "So you've been busy," Ruiz said. "Lot of unauthorized equipment here. I don't suppose one of those is a missing Xenarun drone." Malik tried to keep his expression neutral. "I find a lot of junk near the port. Some of it looks alien, but it's just trash." Ruiz turned, meeting his eyes. "Nothing from their ships is trash. Their toys carry tech our best labs can't even simulate. If you've been tampering with one, that's a breach of the Treaty of Coexistence, heavy penalties." The weight in Malik's chest deepened. "I didn't steal it. I fixed it." "That's the problem," Ruiz said, folding his arms. "Humans always think fixing is harmless. But those devices carry networked cores, signals, data, even AI fragments. You activate one, it talks to someone out there." Malik froze. The words struck harder than he expected. "You mean it could have called them?" Ruiz didn't answer. He simply studied Malik, as if trying to measure the truth in his silence. Then his tone softened slightly. "You're not the first to cross that line, Mr. Johnson, but you might be the one who drew the most attention." Malik frowned. "Attention from who?" Ruiz's gaze flicked to the window where distant lights shimmered high above the skyline. "Let's just say, someone's listening. If you're smart, you'll hand over that drone now and let this stay small." Malik's hand twitched. He thought of the holographic children, their laughter, the voice that had said, "Fix heart, fix song." He couldn't surrender that. Not yet. "I'll think about it," he said carefully. Ruiz smiled again, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Do more than think. The law of contact exists for a reason." As the agent left, the workshop felt colder, the hum of machines muted. Malik stood there for a long time, hands trembling slightly. He'd tried to do something simple, repair what was broken, but in this world even kindness came with consequences. He looked toward the covered drone and whispered, "What did I start?" Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. That night, Atlanta shimmered with uneasy calm. The rain had come and gone, leaving the streets slick with reflection, red tail lights bleeding into puddles, the air thick with ozone and the distant hum of skycraft. Malik sat by the window of his apartment above the workshop, watching lightning fork across the horizon. His thoughts replayed Agent Ruiz's warning in an endless loop. You might be the one who drew the most attention. He turned the small drone over in his hands, its surface cool against his palms. The faint hum within it had changed, slower now, deeper, almost heartbeat-like. "You got me in trouble, little one," he muttered, though the words carried no anger. He had half a mind to hand it over and half a heart that wouldn't let him. The soft light inside the drone pulsed once, as if in quiet reply. He sighed. "Yeah, you understand me, don't you?" The power flickered, and for a moment the city went dark. Then, out of nowhere, the drone released a piercing chime. Malik jumped to his feet, eyes wide. The air around him shimmered, and a burst of light erupted from the drone, forming a translucent sphere that expanded until it filled the room. Inside the sphere, a projection came alive, not the playful shapes of children this time, but a figure cloaked in gold and deep blue, tall and radiant, her features delicate yet commanding. Malik froze. "What the hell?" The figure spoke, her voice layered in tones that rippled like music and thunder combined. "Human engineer, we have seen your act." Malik stepped closer, heartbeat pounding. "You're their queen?" "Yes," the voice answered, harmonics bending softly through the static. "I am Ael Rin, Matriarch of the Zinarun heirs, you restored the laughter of my young. We are grateful. He swallowed hard, trying to process it. Grateful? Ma'am, I didn't even know what I was fixing. I just didn't like seeing something broken. Her luminous eyes seemed to soften. And that is why we come. Our children learn by creation. You repaired what they believed lost. In your hands, they saw care without demand. Few among your kind act so. Malik rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't do it for credit, but the government's already breathing down my neck. They say I violated the treaty. The laws of fear, Aelrin said gently. Not of reason. The words hung in the air, carrying both wisdom and weight. Malik felt something shift in him, a strange mix of pride and disbelief. If they knew you were speaking to me right now, they'd lose their minds. Aelrin tilted her head. Perhaps they should. They have forgotten what it means to create without conquest. Her form flickered, light dimming around the edges. Prepare yourself, Malik Johnson. Gratitude must be spoken, not sent. Wait, he said, stepping forward. What do you mean, prepare? But the projection was already fading, her voice now a fading melody. We come to meet the human who restores lost voices. The light collapsed back into the drone, leaving the room in silence. Malik stood still, chest tight, mind spinning. Outside, the city's power surged back on. His terminal buzzed with emergency alerts, red text scrolling fast. Unidentified vessel entering Earth atmosphere. Origin unknown. Atlanta, airspace restricted. He stumbled to the window. The skyline burned with streaks of blue light cutting through the clouds, descending slowly, controlled and deliberate. For a heartbeat, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. From the streets below, people poured out of their homes, pointing, recording, shouting. The news drones swarmed upward like metallic bees. Malik's pulse hammered in his throat. No, he whispered. She didn't. But she had. Above the city, through the clearing storm, a sleek, organic-looking vessel hovered, vast, luminous, its underbelly glowing like liquid sapphire. The hum of its engines was unlike anything Earth had ever known, deep and resonant, like a choir of living metal. Malik stepped back, hand gripping the window frame. He knew this wasn't a threat. It was a message. The Queen had come to Earth. By dawn, Atlanta was no longer just a city. It was the eye of the world. Every screen, every broadcast, every whisper hummed with one name. Aelrin. The Queen's vessel hovered just beyond the skyline, its hull reflecting the sunrise like molten glass. People gathered in streets and rooftops, filming, praying, shouting. Some called it a miracle, others called it the beginning of invasion. But Malik Johnson, standing outside his workshop with the drone clutched to his chest, felt only disbelief and a strange, rising calm. He hadn't slept. The night had been a blur of questions, flashes of news drones, and the pounding rhythm of his own heart. Amara had stayed by his side, her expression caught between awe and worry. You really think she came here for you? She asked quietly. Malik didn't answer at first. He was watching the sky where lines of military aircraft circled like insects dwarfed by the Queen's massive ship. I didn't ask her to, he said, but she said she would. She? Amara's eyes widened. You spoke to her? He nodded slowly. Through the drone. She called me a maker. Amara exhaled sharply. Malik, this is bigger than you. You need to tell someone. He gave a small, humorless smile. I did. Ruiz. He probably thinks I'm lying. Doesn't matter now, she's already here. At that moment, a sound rolled through the air, low, deep, harmonious, like 1,000 voices singing a single note. The clouds parted in a spiral, and from the center descended a smaller craft, gliding toward the ground with liquid grace. The crowd below erupted into chaos. Some ran, others dropped to their knees. Malik's pulse quickened as he felt Amara grip his arm. Don't move, she whispered. The craft landed on the open square near the old Olympic torch, its surface rippling like water settling after rain. The air shimmered with static, then softened into quiet. From within the craft, a figure emerged. She was tall, impossibly so, yet moved with elegance that felt almost human. Her skin shimmered like bronze bathed in starlight, her hair flowing in translucent waves that shifted color with every motion. When she looked up, her eyes reflected both light and depth, an ocean of understanding and something older than time. Malik couldn't breathe. He didn't know if it was fear or reverence. The Queen of the Zinneran stood before them, and the city seemed to forget how to move. A human official approached her, a trembling representative from the Interplanetary Council. His voice quivered through the loudspeakers. "Queen Aelrin, Earth welcomes you. But this visit was not expected. We request—" She raised a hand, and his words stopped, not by force, but by presence. Her voice flowed through the air, both musical and resonant. "I did not come for treaties. I came for the human who restores lost voices." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Cameras zoomed in. Malik felt Amara's hand tighten on his sleeve. "Malik," she hissed. "Don't." But it was too late. The Queen's gaze turned directly toward him, piercing yet gentle, like sunlight through deep water. "Malik Johnson," she said, pronouncing his name as if it were sacred. "You repaired the laughter of our young. You remind us what it means to mend rather than replace." He stepped forward slowly, his throat dry. "I just fixed a drone, ma'am. That's all." Her lips curved slightly, something between a smile and a memory. "To you, perhaps. To us, you mended a link between worlds." Every sound seemed to vanish. Malik stood in the silence, aware of the eyes, the cameras, the tension. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble," he said softly. "You caused remembrance," she replied. "And for that, I must speak with you." Before anyone could react, she extended a hand, elegant, alien, yet unmistakably human in its gesture. The hum of her vessel deepened, vibrating through the air like a living heartbeat. Malik hesitated only a second before taking her hand. In that touch, a pulse of warmth spread through him, not pain, not fear, but recognition. The following hours unfolded like a dream Malik could barely hold on to. The Queen's presence had altered everything, the air, the sound, even the rhythm of the city. Her voice still echoed in his mind. "You remind us what it means to mend rather than replace." He kept repeating it silently, unsure whether to feel honored or terrified. Now, under the orange hue of a late Georgia afternoon, Malik stood outside his workshop again, this time flanked by security drones and curious onlookers. The Queen had requested, no, insisted, to see where he worked. He'd spent the entire morning cleaning, trying to hide the chaos that usually made the place feel alive. When Aelrin finally arrived, the world seemed to hold its breath. Her tall form glowed faintly against the sun, her movements fluid but deliberate. Malik caught a glimpse of Amara in the crowd, her face tense with awe and disbelief. "Welcome," Malik said, voice unsteady. "It's not much, but it's mine." Aelrin stepped inside without hesitation, her gaze sweeping across the shelves stacked with salvaged circuits and faded family photos. "Your space carries history," she said softly. "Every object here remembers being touched." He blinked. "I guess you could say that. Most of this stuff used to be broken." She turned toward him, eyes shimmering. "Yet you kept it." "You repair more than machines, Malik Johnson. You preserve meaning." The words hit deeper than he expected. "Where I come from," he said, "we don't throw things away easy. Not machines, not stories. You learn to fix what you've got, or you lose a part of who you are." A faint light danced over her skin. "Your culture builds resilience through memory. Among my people, we share memory through song. Once something is repaired, we sing it back into the collective." "That's beautiful," Malik said quietly. "Down here we use music for that too. Blues, gospel, hip-hop, all the same heartbeat. It's how we remember pain and turn it into something that shines." Aelrin studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable, then said, "Show me this transformation of sound." Malik hesitated, then pulled out his old record player from the corner. The vinyl was cracked, but it still spun. He dropped the needle, and a soft crackle filled the air. followed by the soulful hum of an old Otis Redding track. The Queen tilted her head, eyes half closed, as if translating the frequencies into language. "This song mourns," she said, "yet it hopes." "That's what we do," Malik replied. "Hope's the thing you keep fixing, even when it keeps breaking." For a long moment they listened together. Outside, the city's usual noise faded, replaced by the faint echo of that old record carrying through open windows. People stopped to listen, unsure why. Something about it made them quiet. When the song ended, Aelrin turned to him. "Your world fears what it does not understand. Yet in you I see the bridge they claim cannot be built." Malik shifted, uneasy under her gaze. "I'm no bridge. I'm just trying to make rent." Her expression softened into what could almost be called amusement. "And still you build connections. Even survival is a form of creation." He looked around at his cluttered workshop, the mess of tools, the photos of his family, the patched-up drone resting quietly on the bench. "Maybe," he said. "But some days it feels like all I'm doing is holding things together with tape and hope." "Then hope is your strongest tool," Aelrin said simply. Malik chuckled under his breath. "You talk like my grandma used to." "She must have been wise," Aelrin replied. "She was," he said softly. "Taught me that broken doesn't mean done." A small, almost human smile crossed the Queen's features. "Your grandmother and I would have understood each other." Malik didn't know how to answer that. The room felt warm, full, as if the walls themselves had exhaled. He realized with a sudden clarity that this wasn't just about a drone anymore. It was about everything humans ever built to survive and remember. Aelrin's gaze lingered on him. "Tomorrow, Malik Johnson, you will see what your repair has truly awakened." Her words hung heavy in the quiet room, their meaning still a mystery, but his heart already knew that peace never came without its tests. The next day, the city woke under a sky that didn't feel entirely human anymore. The Queen's vessel remained suspended above Atlanta, casting its shimmering reflection across the glass towers and rivers below. For some, it was a symbol of wonder. For others, it was an omen. Malik felt both. He stood outside his workshop, watching groups of people gather along the streets, their faces lit by holographic banners and news drones spinning half-truths. A protest had begun near the square, the chants rising like smoke. "Keep Earth human," they shouted, voices sharp with fear and pride. Malik's stomach tightened. He recognized that tone. It was the same one that used to meet him at job interviews when people assumed a black engineer from the ward couldn't possibly handle alien systems. The words had changed, but the fear hadn't. Amara appeared beside him, carrying a box of tools from the back. "You should stay inside," she said. "People out there are getting wild." Malik wiped his hands on a rag, staring at the swelling crowd. "They're scared of what they don't get. That's all." "Fear turns to hate fast," Amara said quietly. "You think they'll care you didn't ask for any of this?" He didn't answer. Somewhere behind the crowd, military drones buzzed low, scanning, recording ready. The hum of tension pressed against his chest. Then, from the corner of the street, a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Malik Johnson!" He turned. Agent Ruiz was striding toward him, flanked by 2 armored officers. His expression was grim. "We need to talk." Malik crossed his arms. "You said that before." "Didn't help much." "This time it's not advice," Ruiz said. "You're in danger. That ship—" He nodded upward where the Queen's vessel glowed faintly through the haze. "Is throwing every government on Earth into panic mode. They think you're the reason she's here." Malik laughed dryly. "You're kidding." "Do I look like I'm kidding?" Ruiz snapped. "There are people out there who think you made some kind of deal with her. They're not all just waving signs." Amara stepped forward. "Are you saying someone's coming after him?" Ruiz's jaw tightened. "There have been threats, messages. You need protection." Malik shook his head. "Protection from what? From people too scared to see that she came here in peace?" Ruiz sighed, lowering his voice. "You don't understand. Peace doesn't sell well in politics. You're a symbol now, whether you want to be or not." Before Malik could reply, a crash echoed from down the street. A bottle shattered near the barricade, flames licking the pavement. The crowd roared. Someone shouted his name again, this time not with curiosity, but with anger. Amara grabbed his arm. "Let's go, Malik." He hesitated, his eyes fixed on the burning edge of the crowd. Through the haze he caught sight of people holding signs, some painted with alien symbols, others with his face crossed out. His stomach twisted. Ruiz barked orders into his comms, "Get a unit here now." But then through the chaos another sound broke, a hum, soft but unmistakable. The Queen's vessel pulsed with light, and a beam of azure shimmered down toward the city. The chanting stopped. The firelight dimmed. For a fleeting second, every human heart in that square seemed to pause. The light vanished as quickly as it came, leaving silence in its wake. Malik looked up, breath unsteady. "She's watching," he murmured. Ruiz shot him a sharp look. "Then pray she keeps watching." The crowd began to disperse slowly, murmuring uneasy. But Malik could feel the weight of their eyes still on him, suspicion wrapped in awe. He wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was a question none of them wanted to answer. Amara touched his shoulder. "You okay?" He gave a small, tired nod. "Yeah." "But something's breaking, and it's not a machine this time." Above them, the Queen's ship shimmered once more, silent and patient, as if waiting for humanity to decide what it wanted to become. By nightfall, the city's glow had turned hostile. News feeds replayed the same clips: protest fires, government briefings, shaky footage of the Queen's vessel hanging over Atlanta like a silent judge. Malik sat at his workbench, his eyes heavy but restless, the drone resting beside his tools. The air smelled faintly of burnt circuits and rain-soaked asphalt. Amara had begged him to leave town, at least for a while, but Malik couldn't walk away. This place, the workshop, the neighborhood, the hum of life between broken things, it was his heartbeat. He told her he'd stay quiet, stay careful. He didn't tell her that he'd been dreaming of the alien children again, their voices echoing in laughter made of light. He worked through the noise outside, adjusting a cracked capacitor, trying to focus. But even the machines seemed nervous tonight. The air buzzed with tension that wasn't just in his head. Then came the first sound, a faint metallic tap at the back door. Malik froze. Another tap, harder. He stood slowly, listening. The street outside had gone quiet. He moved toward the door, pulse quickening, and called out, "Who's there?" No answer, only the steady hiss of distant traffic. He was about to turn away when the door shuddered violently. The crash came all at once, a burst of force that threw it open. Shadows poured in. Malik stumbled back as two masked figures rushed inside. One held a metal rod, the other a canister that hissed with smoke. "What the— Hey, stop!" he shouted. They didn't stop. The first swung at the table, knocking tools across the floor. The other smashed a shelf, scattering his work. Years of repairs, memories gone in seconds. Malik lunged forward, grabbing the man's arm. The impact burned through his shoulder as the intruder shoved him back. "You think you can sell us out to aliens?" one of them shouted, voice muffled. "You brought this on us, traitor." "I didn't bring anything," Malik shouted back. "I fixed a toy." But the words meant nothing. The sound of glass shattering filled the air. Sparks jumped as a tool bench caught fire. Malik's heart pounded in his ears. He reached for the extinguisher, but one of the men kicked it away. For a split second he saw the reflection of the flames in their masks. Fear, not hate. Fear of what they didn't understand. And that realization made something inside him harden. He grabbed a wrench from the floor and swung, striking the rod from one man's hand. "Get out!" Malik roared. His voice cut through the chaos like lightning. The attackers hesitated, then bolted for the door, their footsteps fading into the wet night. Malik stood there, chest heaving, smoke stinging his eyes. The flames licked at the table before he finally smothered them with a blanket. When the fire was out, he sank to his knees. The workshop smelled of ash and melted plastic. His hands trembled as he picked up what was left of the drone. Its shell cracked again, flickering weakly. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. Moments later, he heard footsteps outside. "Malik!" It was Amara, her voice sharp with fear. She burst through the doorway, eyes wide. "Oh my God, what happened?" He looked up at her, soot covering his face. They think I betrayed them. They think helping her means choosing them over us. Amara crouched beside him, tears glinting. No, you didn't do anything wrong, they're just scared. Yeah, Malik said softly, scared enough to burn down what they don't understand. Together they began cleaning what they could. Neighbors soon joined, men and women from the block, people who'd grown up watching Malik fix everything from radios to old hoverboards. One by one, they lifted the broken pieces, working in silence. When dawn touched the sky again, Malik's workshop wasn't whole, but it stood. The drone still flickered faintly, humming as if it refused to die. Malik brushed the dust from it, whispering, "We'll fix it again, that's what we do." And for the first time in days, a quiet strength returned to his chest. Even through smoke and loss, he realized what he'd built wasn't just machines. It was community. The summons arrived before sunrise, an official message, sealed with the insignia of the Interplanetary Council. Malik read it twice, his stomach tightening. He'd been ordered to appear before the Council's tribunal, accused of unauthorized manipulation of alien technology and violation of interspecies sovereignty. The words felt heavy, like someone else's crimes stamped with his name. Amara paced the small apartment, hands clenched. "You're not going alone," she said firmly. "How you don't know what they'll try?" "They'll listen," Malik said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. "They have to. I didn't do anything wrong." She stopped pacing, eyes sharp. "Malik, they don't care about what's right. They care about control. You embarrassed them. You, a man fixing junk in a shop they don't even fund, did something their top labs couldn't." He looked at her, exhausted. "Then I'll just tell the truth." Later that morning, he entered the council's chamber, a vast circular hall built from polished white stone and humming blue conduits. Human and alien delegates filled the seats, their gazes fixed on him like dissecting lights. At the center sat the tribunal, 3 representatives, 1 human, 1 alien, 1 synthetic. "Malik Johnson," the lead delegate began, his tone clipped and cold. "You stand accused of direct interference with Zinaran property and triggering unsanctioned contact between species. Do you admit to this?" Malik took a steady breath. "I admit I repaired something broken, that's all." A ripple of murmurs filled the chamber. The alien delegate, a tall being with skin like marble and eyes of silver, leaned forward. "You engaged technology designed for quantum resonance. Did you not realize its implications?" "I didn't know it would connect to anyone," Malik said. "I just wanted to help. It looked like something a kid lost. I thought—" He stopped himself, then continued more quietly. "I thought maybe fixing it mattered." The synthetic delegate's voice chimed, calm and mechanical. "Intent is irrelevant. The act itself disrupted diplomatic stability." Malik felt heat rise in his chest. "Diplomatic stability? You mean your fear of being reminded that humans still create, still feel? You talk about peace, but you've built a world where we need permission just to care." The chamber buzzed again, some in shock, others in quiet approval. The human delegate's face darkened. "Watch your tone, Mr. Johnson. You are not here to lecture." Malik stepped forward anyway. "You asked what I did. I repaired something. I didn't steal. I didn't destroy. I restored." "You call it interference, but where I'm from, we call it responsibility. My father used to say, if you find something broken and walk away, it breaks you too." The alien delegate tilted her head, studying him. "You speak as though repair is moral." "Maybe it is," Malik said, "because it means seeing value in what others throw away. Machines, people, whole communities." "You think I did this for glory? I did it because something that once brought joy was left to die. And if that's a crime, then maybe your laws need fixing too." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Malik's words seemed to hang in the air like a held breath. Then, from behind him, a soft, resonant hum filled the room, a tone everyone recognized. The doors opened. The Queen of the Zinaran entered. Her presence silenced even the council's guards. Light rippled across the chamber as she spoke. "Enough." Her voice carried authority that made even the walls seem to listen. She turned to the tribunal. "This human's act was not defiance, it was compassion, a lesson your codes have forgotten." The lead delegate rose, visibly shaken. Your Majesty, with respect— Respect, she interrupted, is earned through understanding, not fear. Her gaze softened toward Malik. He repaired more than a drone. He reminded us what connection means. The alien delegate bowed her head slightly. The synthetic one went still, processing. Only the human remained unmoved, but his silence spoke of uncertainty. Aelrin turned back to Malik. You are under my protection now. Your punishment, if there must be one, will be decided by those who remember gratitude. Malik exhaled, the tension in his chest breaking like a tide. He didn't know what would come next, but for the first time, the air felt lighter, like truth had finally been heard, even in the language of power. For days after the hearing, the world pulsed with divided voices. Malik's name became both praise and warning, whispered in alleys and broadcast on screens. Some hailed him as a symbol of courage, proof that humanity could still matter in a universe of machines and monarchs. Others called him reckless, the man who invited danger by touching what was not his. He tried to ignore both, but there was no going back to anonymity. The council hadn't punished him, but silence had its own cost. Atlanta felt different now. Alien traders walked the streets more freely, their strange attire blending with the hum of the city. Banners flickered between languages, English, Zinneran, Yoruba, messages of unity and unease sharing the same space. Malik wandered through it all, trying to understand where he fit. Amara found him sitting on the steps of the community center, head lowered, hands restless. You've been quiet since the trial, she said, taking a seat beside him. He rubbed his temples. Quiet's all I've got left. Everyone either wants an interview or to use me as a poster boy. I didn't fix that drone to start a movement. She studied him for a long moment. Movements don't ask permission. They just happen when someone does the right thing at the wrong time. He let out a tired laugh. Yeah, well, I'd trade it all for a week without cameras. You can't hide forever, Malik, she said softly. What you did woke people up. Maybe it's time to do something with that. Do what? Start a club? Not a club, Amara said, her tone sharpening. A place for makers. People like you. Engineers, builders, kids who fix things just because they believe they can. Not for profit, not for power. Just for the joy of creation. He looked at her, surprised. You're serious? I've already talked to some of my students. They'd help. You always said the world forgot how to mend, so teach it again. Malik hesitated, then exhaled. The Makers' Union, he murmured. Sounds bold for a broke man with a burned workshop. Sounds perfect, she said with a smile. You don't need money, you've got people. Her faith lit something in him that had dimmed since the attack, the belief that rebuilding wasn't a burden, but a calling. Within a week, word spread across the community. Local engineers, artists, and students began showing up at his workshop. They brought broken drones, recycled panels, even alien scraps salvaged from junk markets. Malik guided them, not as a teacher, but as one of them, explaining, laughing, failing, trying again. The room that once smelled of smoke and regret now buzzed with energy. Every repair was an act of defiance, a reminder that creation still belonged to the people. One evening, as the group worked late, a faint shimmer filled the air. Malik froze. It was a projection, soft and translucent, hovering above the table. The Queen's image appeared, her voice clear but tender. You continue to build, she said. And through that you connect our worlds beyond law or politics. My young speak of you. They call you the maker of songs. Malik smiled, shaking his head. Tell them I'm just a man with too many broken things to fix. Then you are what every world needs, Aelrin replied. But beware. Progress stirs resistance. Some who fear change will not rest. Her image faded, leaving a hush among the group. Malik turned to the others, feeling the weight of her words settle. We don't stop, he said quietly. If fear breaks things, then we'll keep fixing until it can't. Amara nodded, her eyes gleaming with pride. Around them, the hum of invention rose again, steady, determined, alive. Outside, the night carried their work like a heartbeat through the city, proof that even in chaos, humanity could still create light. The Makers' Union had become something else, a movement that no one had planned but everyone needed. Malik hadn't expected it. What started as a few friends and curious engineers looking for space to create had turned into a gathering of souls, each one driven by the need to build, to restore, to resist the suffocating air of fear that gripped the world. In the days following the Queen's message, more people showed up. Some were skeptics, others enthusiasts, but all of them found themselves drawn to the warmth that emanated from the workshop. The walls that once echoed with the hum of broken machines now thrummed with the energy of invention. A celebration had been called. Not by the authorities, they still saw Malik as a problem to control, but by the people who believed in him. The space was filled with a blend of cultures, alien and human, old and new. Malik stood in the center, surrounded by tools, half-repaired gadgets, and his growing community. "Malik," Amara called, waving from the far end of the room. She was with a group of students holding up a strange glowing device. "You've got to see this." He moved over to them, wiping his hands on a rag, eyes widening at the contraption they'd put together. It was a fusion of old Earth tech and Zinneran materials, a small handheld drone that could display holograms and also play music. "It's a music player," one of the students said, grinning. "A hybrid, something that plays both Earth and alien melodies, a little bit of soul mixed in." Malik couldn't help but laugh. "I like the sound of that." The room was alive with similar creations, people sharing their work, exchanging ideas, collaborating in ways he'd never thought possible. They weren't just fixing things anymore. They were creating new futures from the old ones, blending the cultures, the pasts, and the possibilities. As the evening wore on, people gathered in a circle, celebrating their shared work. A few alien engineers stood nearby, their arms crossed but their faces lit with something like pride. They'd started joining in too, bringing their knowledge, sharing it freely, no longer hiding behind fear or regulations. Malik stood with Amara, his eyes on the group as they worked. "This," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "this is what it's supposed to be." Creating together. Amara nodded, watching as a young girl fixed an old robot, her hands moving with the kind of care Malik had always admired. "It's not just about what's fixed, it's about what's built, what we can build." Elrin's message echoed in his mind. "You remind us what it means to mend rather than replace." She was right. What they were doing here wasn't just about technology, it was about humanity, about mending the things that had been broken for so long: trust, understanding, cooperation. A sudden noise drew his attention, and he turned to see a familiar face. The small hologram drone he had repaired weeks ago hovered near the door. It had been modified, the childlike projections now dancing in perfect unison, casting light across the room. "Malik Johnson," a voice came through the drone speaker, familiar and rich with warmth. "You are the maker of songs. I see now what you have created, a world of connection." The Queen's image flickered into view in the center of the room, her form tall and radiant. The crowd fell silent. She nodded to him. "Your hands, Malik, have built more than machines. You've built a future." For a long moment the room was still, everyone listening, absorbing her words. The weight of the last few weeks hung heavy in the air, but then, slowly, people began to clap, the sound spreading like a wave. Malik smiled, a simple, quiet smile. He hadn't been looking for recognition, but it didn't matter. They had all built something together, something greater than any single person or invention. The Queen's image bowed slightly. "The path forward is not paved with fear, but with creation. Let your hands guide the future." As she faded from view, the room erupted in applause. Malik stood still for a moment, his heart swelling with a pride he had never expected. Amara stepped up beside him, a proud smile on her face. "You did it." Malik turned to her, a soft laugh escaping his lips. "We did it." And as the celebration continued, filled with laughter, music, and the hum of machines coming back to life, Malik realized that what had started with a broken drone had transformed into something that would change the world. A world that was being rebuilt, one creation at a time. The morning after the celebration, Malik stood at the edge of the workshop, staring out over the city. The sun had risen with a quiet grace, casting a soft golden light across Atlanta. Everything felt different now, lighter, almost like the weight of uncertainty had been lifted, replaced by something more hopeful. The hum of machinery and the chatter of his fellow makers filled the space behind him, but for a moment Malik was lost in thought. "You've been standing there a while," Amara said, her voice warm but teasing. He turned to her, smiling faintly. "Just thinking." Amara raised an eyebrow. "About what? The future of humanity? Or how to fix the next broken thing?" He chuckled. "Maybe both." She stepped beside him, gazing out at the bustling streets. "I never thought I'd see the day when people actually showed up to fix things for the sake of fixing them. You really made that happen, didn't you?" Malik's smile faded slightly. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us. We've been fixing this city, our lives, all along. I just gave people a place to do it." A soft hum filled the air, pulling Malik's attention. He turned to see a familiar sight, a drone this time with a different purpose. It floated toward him, its form smooth and glowing with soft blue light. His heart skipped a beat. The same drone that had been his first connection to Ael Rin. The drone hovered in front of him, and from it a voice, clear, powerful yet gentle, spoke. "Malik Johnson," it said. "You have been the maker of more than machines. You have restored the spirit of creation." Malik's breath caught in his throat. "Ael Rin?" The voice of the queen emerged from the drone, her image forming like light dancing in water. "I bring you a gift for your hands and your heart. A symbol of the future that you have begun to build." The drone's glow intensified for a moment, then flickered out, leaving behind something tangible, a small object floating gently into Malik's hand. It was a pendant, crafted from the same shimmering material as the Zynaran ships, embedded with a tiny pulsating light at its core. Malik turned it over in his fingers, feeling its weight and energy. "It's beautiful," Amara said, her voice filled with awe. Ael Rin's voice echoed softly. "It is not just a token. It is a reminder of the bridge you have created between our worlds. A bridge built from understanding, not conquest. A bridge for the future." Malik felt a lump rise in his throat. He turned the pendant over in his hands again, its light reflecting in his eyes. "This is too much. I didn't do anything for this." "No," Ael Rin's voice answered. "You did not do this for yourself. You did it for the world, for humanity's place in the stars." Malik felt the weight of her words settle in his chest, the magnitude of everything that had happened rushing through him. He had never asked for any of this. He had never wanted to be a symbol, a leader, or even an ambassador between worlds. He just wanted to fix things, to make the world a little less broken. But somehow, the universe had asked more of him. "Why?" he whispered, almost to himself. Ael Rin's voice was soft, but it carried a deep understanding. "Because, Malik Johnson, you saw what was broken and you chose to repair it. Not just the machines, but the hearts of those around you. That is a gift worth more than you know." The pendant in his hand pulsed, the light inside it growing brighter before fading again. The world seemed to hold its breath as Malik stood there, feeling the weight of both the gift and the responsibility that came with it. Amara watched him, her expression soft but proud. "You've created something that will outlast you, Malik. The future is already here. You're already a part of it." He nodded slowly, his mind racing. The people in the workshop, the young students, the broken pieces of technology, it was all connected now. Everything had been leading to this moment, this gift, this new world. For the first time in a long while, Malik felt sure of one thing. The work wasn't done yet. There was still so much to build, so much to repair. But now, he had something more than just tools and broken tech. He had a vision, one that would stretch far beyond Earth's borders. The Queen's voice echoed once more, soft but clear. "Continue building, Malik Johnson. The world needs makers like you." He looked at the pendant one last time, feeling a fire ignite inside him. It was time to create something that could change everything. The workshop had grown beyond what Malik had ever imagined. What had started as a small, humble space for fixing broken machines had turned into a thriving hub of creation. The Makers Union was no longer just a group of engineers and creators. It had become a movement, a symbol of rebuilding not just technology, but the very idea of what humanity could achieve. Malik sat at the center of it all, surrounded by the hum of machines, the chatter of his team and the soft glow of screens displaying blueprints, designs, and half-finished inventions. The air smelled of solder and freshly printed metal. He could feel the weight of what they were building, something bigger than any of them. Amara stood beside him, watching the group with a satisfied smile. "So you've done it, Malik. They're all here because of you. This is your legacy." Malik glanced around at the people working together, humans and Zinnerans, young and old, all united in a common purpose. He didn't feel like a leader. He never had. But he could see it now. The difference they were making, the future they were creating. "It's not just mine," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "It's all of ours." The doors to the workshop opened, and a few more people stepped inside. They were bringing in materials, equipment, ideas. It was a constant flow now, people contributing what they could, knowing they were part of something much larger than themselves. Malik stood and walked over to a table where a group of kids from the neighborhood were working. They were hunched over a small, glowing device, a combination of Earth tech and alien materials, something new. Malik leaned over their shoulders, watching their hands move with ease. "You guys getting this right?" he asked, his voice warm with pride. One of the boys, a young teenager with bright eyes and an eagerness to match, grinned. "We're almost there, Mr. Malik. It's like you said. We fix it together, it works better." Malik nodded, his chest swelling with pride. "That's it. That's the spirit." Amara came over and joined him, watching the kids at work. "You know, I think they're going to do more than fix things. They'll build things that the world's never seen before." Malik looked at her, a quiet smile on his face. "And that's the point. The future doesn't belong to the ones who wait. It belongs to the ones who make." Just then, the familiar hum of the drone sounded from across the room. The small device Malik had repaired months ago floated toward him, its holographic images flickering like memories. It hovered in front of him, and for a moment he thought he could hear the laughter of alien children in the background, echoing from the past. Malik reached out and caught the drone, its surface warm under his fingertips. "Hey there," he whispered, almost to himself. A familiar voice echoed from the drone's speaker. "You have made your mark, Malik Johnson. You have built something that will last." He looked at it, the weight of the words sinking in. "I didn't make it for myself," he replied softly. "I made it for the people who need it, for the future." The drone's image flickered once more, and the Queen's voice came through clearly as if she were standing beside him. "The future you have created, Malik, is one of unity. It is a world where creation is not bound by fear, but by the willingness to share. You have reminded us of the value of what is repaired, and in that, you have fixed more than machines." Malik felt a quiet warmth settle in his chest. It wasn't just about fixing things anymore. It was about giving others the tools to fix their own world, to build a future where collaboration and creativity could thrive. Amara placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but proud. "You did it, Malik. You built something that will live on." He smiled, looking around the workshop once more at the faces of the people working together, at the children learning, at the machines coming to life. This was it. His legacy. Not the work itself, but the community that had come together to do it. The future was never one thing or one person. It was always built piece by piece, hand by hand. And Malik knew deep down that they were only just getting started. Days passed after the Makers Union had truly taken root. Malik watched as it grew, his workshop now a buzzing center for creation. The energy had shifted. People were no longer just scavenging old tech to survive. They were building it, using it, creating new possibilities for the future. And with every new project, Malik felt the weight of his own growth. Amara had been right. He wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was helping others fix their world, his world, and that, in itself, was a kind of power he hadn't fully realized. One morning, after a long night of work, Malik sat by the window looking out at the rising sun. The city was waking up with him, a chorus of sounds, the shuffle of feet, the hum of engines. But today the air felt different. It was quieter, like something was about to change again. The door opened behind him, and he turned to see Amara standing there, holding a small device in her hands. "Malik, you might want to see this," she said, her voice soft but urgent. He stood and walked over, taking the device from her. It was a new version of the drone he'd first repaired, a little smaller, more refined. But as soon as he activated it, the familiar blue light flickered to life, and the voice of the Queen filled the room. "Malik Johnson," Aelrin's voice echoed with a sense of finality, "you have done more than I could have ever hoped. You have shown the power of creation, the strength of unity, and the beauty of mending what was broken. The world you have helped build, the future you have created, is a gift to us all." Malik's heart tightened at her words. He wasn't ready for the weight of it. "A gift," he whispered. "Yes," she continued, her tone softer now. "The universe is full of broken things, but it is also full of the possibility of repair. You've made a mark, Malik, one that cannot be erased. But understand this, the journey is never over. Every creation, every piece of work is a new beginning. What you've built here, the world you've started, will continue to grow long after you're gone." Malik swallowed hard, the words settling deep within him. "I never thought about it that way." "That is why you are a true maker, Malik," Aelrin replied, her image flickering softly. "Because you understand that what is created does not belong to the Creator. It belongs to the world, to the people who carry it forward." The room felt heavy, charged with a kind of quiet reverence. Malik closed his eyes for a moment, processing everything. This had never been about him. It had never been about fame or recognition. It had been about rebuilding what had been lost, about finding hope in the pieces that were left. And now that hope had blossomed into something larger than himself. "Thank you," he whispered, not sure if she could still hear him. "Your thanks are not needed," Aelrin responded, her voice gentle but final. "The future is already yours to shape. You have shown us that. Keep creating, Malik. The world needs more makers, more creators, more healers." The drone's light flickered one last time, then dimmed, its projection fading into nothingness. Malik stood there for a long moment, the weight of her words sinking in. "You're right," he said quietly, turning to Amara. "The work never ends. But maybe that's the point." She smiled, her eyes full of understanding. "It's not about the end, Malik. It's about the journey. And you've just started yours." As the sun rose higher, casting a warm golden light through the windows, Malik looked around at the workshop, the people, the future. The road ahead was uncertain, yes, but he wasn't afraid anymore. The journey, the work, the repairs, it was all part of the same creation. And for the first time he felt ready for it,